welcome back to my channel. I'm Soph, also known as Soph over on Instagram and here on FlossTube. This is FlossTube number 3, and if you're new here, FlossTube is a community where we all talk about cross stitch, patterns that we've bought, stitching, anything to do with cross stitch really, so welcome. Thank you to everyone who's subscribed and commented already, and if you like what you see, please join me for this journey by subscribing and liking. I just want to apologise for the lighting here today. It is quite a dreary day here in Wales in the UK. It's a bit rainy outside and it's a shame because it's the bank holiday Monday, but I thought it'd be a good day to get on here and say hi and update you all, because it's been about 2 weeks since my last update. So I just wanted to start with a fully finished object, so an FFO. This you would have seen in my last video. It was the Seaside pattern by Stitch Rovia or Emma Congdon. So that was fully stitched last time, but I've actually framed it now ready to be gifted. So apologise for the glare from the ring light, but this is in a plain wooden frame which I got from IKEA. It was just in my study on my office. It was the perfect size and it goes with it really well. I did want like a washed out white that was almost like sanded down, so like worn looking to go with it, but I thought this looked really nice, and yeah, it finishes off perfectly. So that is going to be gifted to my dad and his girlfriend Mary when I next go down to West Wales to visit them. It's stitched on board count? Nope. It's stitched on 14 count Boardwalk Ada, and that's by Stitch Bunny Shop, and the pattern is by Stitch Rovia or Emma Congdon. It's one of my favourites that I've stitched so far. It was a really nice stitch because it was only 3 DMCs, so it was nice to just see it all come together with such minimal colours. I think that's the first detailed pattern with only that amount of colours, so that was really interesting doing. So that'll probably be the last time you see that. But yeah, it's all ready to go, so I can't wait to gift that. So the last time we spoke, I was a bit over ambitious. It was 2 weeks ago, and I said that I was looking or hoping for a finish by the end of May for the 2 whips I had on the go. So you'll notice that this potentially isn't going to happen, just because I've been enabled by a lot of people here on FlossTube and over on Instagram. So you'll see what I mean in a little bit, but I just wanted to show you all the progress that I've had on the whips that I started. The first pattern I wanted to show you is Mushrooms by Sam X Stitch on Etsy. This is one you would have seen last time, so 2 weeks ago. So I'll just pop up a picture of what the progress was last time I showed you, and then this is what my progress is today. So last time I showed you, I hadn't completed the oyster mushrooms that are here, and this mushroom wasn't here. So in total I've done 6 of the 17 mushrooms that are in the pattern. So this is what it will look like fully finished. So I've got 6 mushrooms stitched already and got 11 left to stitch. So I've just been popping a mushroom on every time I want a little break from one of the patterns that I'm doing, and yeah, it's progressing really well so far, so I'm really enjoying this. I like all the like dark autumnal colours, obviously autumnal because that's mushroom season, but yeah, it's really nice. So I'm stitching this on 28 count natural beige linen. That's also from Stitch Bunny Shop. I'm stitching it 2/2 full cross, and yeah, I started this on the 8th of April. So some progress there, but I don't think it's something I'm going to be finishing in May. As I said, I'm aiming for a mushroom a week, so I'll stitch a mushroom a week and go from there, and show my progress each time I talk to you guys. So the next whip that I've been working on, I showed you last time, which is the Queen pattern by Unique Stitch Crafts on Etsy. So this is also a PDF download. It isn't actually available on a store anymore, so I'm not sure if it was just taken down. It wasn't that popular, but it's something that I absolutely love. So this is the progress when I showed you 2 weeks ago, and this is progress today. So I've fully stitched the queue and I've started on the U here, and then this is Freddie Mercury's hand, I believe. So this is what it'll look like when it's fully finished. And yeah, I made some good progress on this until I started on some new patterns. This is stitched on Zweigart 18 count Ada, and this is from Luca S, and it's in just a plain white, just because it is going to be a full coverage. Even the Q is going to be stitched in white. You won't be able to see it at the end, so it didn't really matter what sort of fabric I went for, so I went for plain white. So I started this on the 13th of April. I'm 11.2% of the way through the pattern, so that's a total 20 hours and 9 minutes of stitching so far, and there's a grand total of 26,327 stitches left, and that's 3,311. So this is why I'm saying I was over ambitious when I said I was going to finish it by the end of May. I don't think that's possible, but I'm just going to put as many stitches in as I can, and just enjoy the process really, and not stress out about trying to get it done. So this is something you'll probably laugh at me, because I think last time I said I'm pretty much a monogamous stitcher. I don't really stitch more than 1 or 2 projects at a time, but I've been seriously enabled from stitches on Instagram and on Flosstube, and I've actually got a few more than I'm used to, but I'm actually quite enjoying it because it's taking the stress off, and I get to, if I get a little bit bored of one pattern, I'll pick up the other one. So I've got 2 new starts that I want to show you today, and I want to talk to you about a pattern that I will be starting in the next coming days that I've kitted up for as well. So I contradicted myself, and one thing I do like to do, and I'll pre-warn you, is testing myself. So if I'm really adamant that for instance, I'm a monogamous stitcher, that's all I do, I push my boundaries and see if I can actually have lots of whips on the go, and just see why I'm so against that, and I just test myself really. So you might notice that I contradict myself in my Flosstube channels. Just take it with a pinch of salt. I'm human after all, and we're all here for fun. So without further ado, I am going to show you my first new start. Started on the 29th of April, and this is one that I would have talked to you about in my last video, and it was the Quarter Neon Creations The Wanderer Sal. So this is a sal I started because I'd never tried black work before, and I wanted to test myself by trying it really. It was released at the beginning of April, I believe, and I signed on to it mid-April. The border had already been released, so the border is a vintage cabinet that you have to stitch, and then each month, so on the 14th of every month, they release a bottle, and inside this bottle, it's almost like a ship in a bottle, but inside each bottle there's a destination. So in April, the first destination that was released was Venice. I won't be able to show you what it looks like in the end, because obviously it's a stitch along and it gets released each month. It's not something I can show you, unfortunately. It's a surprise to me, so I don't even know what the next destination is. I'll find out on May 14th. So this is my start. So I've stitched the border. I've not stitched all of the border. So at the top here, you've got the world, and you've got like a light bulb and some detail in here, and then this is Venice. So if you can see all that detail here. Honestly, a bit of a challenge for me. I've not done black work before. I've done back stitch, which essentially it is, but yeah, it's interesting. It's a completely different way of stitching. You kind of stitch it in a different way than you would to cross stitch. Obviously you're doing back stitching, and just the way you count is completely different. So it's been like I'm starting a new craft all over again. It's been really fun to do, and I'm excited for the next one to come along. I double checked with Quarter Neon Creations, and they said the next one's going to be released here. So the border does come down. There's another border underneath these 2 sections. So I was worried that the next one would be released down here, and I'd really need to finish the border. But luckily it's released at the top. So my plans going forward is to finish the whole of the border, and then each month all I need to worry about are the bottles. But this is as far as I've got so far. I just wanted to stitch the Venice because it was just so lovely. So it's stitched on 16 count Aida in beige. So I did want to go for like an even weave or something a little bit fancier, but because I've never done black work before, I just decided to go for the called for, which they said 16 count is probably the best to stitch on. And because of all the diagonal stitches and things like that, I didn't want to mess with it and I just wanted to give it a try. So yeah, that's where I am on this one. Like I said, the next one's going to be released on May 14th, so I'll get stitching on the new bottle then. I'll get the rest of the frame done and I'll show you my progress next time, but I'm really enjoying that one so far. If you want to join, the hashtag is The Wondrous Sal, so I'll pop it down below here. You can check it out on Instagram. They've also got a Facebook page as well where you can post your progress, and I bought it directly from Quarter Neon store, which is on the link on their Instagram, so go check it out. And if you do join, please let me know. I'd love to see your progress, and I'll be checking the hashtag as well, because I just love seeing all the different styles. And I know there's some people that have stitched the world with like blues and greens and things like that, and stitch different colours. I think they've stitched like the key in gold, but I just I stuck to what was called for on the sheet just so I could practice. That's that one. So the next pattern I'm going to show you, I wasn't intending to stitch this at all. It wasn't even on my radar until I was scrolling through Instagram, minding my own business, just looking at some patterns that people were stitching and just, you know, doing what you do on there, scrolling forever. And I come across a new sal that was going to be started in May. I think I was looking on the 28th of April, and I just thought there's no way that I'm going to get all the material in time, but I really want to do this. So I saw on Marjorie Made Stitches page that she was starting a sal with a few of her friends, and I just went on to each of their pages, and these are a few of the people that enabled me so much. If it wasn't for these guys, I wouldn't be stitching this pattern. I actually love it, so I just want to say a huge thank you for enabling me. The first one goes to Marjorie Made Stitches, Cam the Stitcher, the Museum Stitcher, the Seattle Stitcher, and Kansas City in a Colorado World. So all these lovely people were participating in the sal, and I saw the patterns that they were doing, and I had to go on to Carolyn Manning's website. And there were so many different patterns that I wanted to stitch. Halloween at Granny's was one of them. There were some other ones that were beautiful. I can't remember the names of them now, but go have a look at her website. They're like stained glass or kaleidoscopy type of patterns. And I had about 20 in my basket that I could have picked, and I narrowed them down to one. So I am probably going to go back for more because it's just been a really nice stitch. But the pattern that I decided to stitch is called Eclipse, and this is what it's going to be like finished, and this is where I am with it at the moment. So it's still in the hoop, because up until about 10 minutes ago I was stitching furiously on it, and I had to turn myself away so I could come and do this. So it's quite a repetitive pattern, and it's nice blocks of colour. So it's really meditative when you're stitching it, and I'm thoroughly enjoying this one. I even mentioned on my Instagram that it's something that this whole pattern on the back of a jean jacket or denim jacket would look so lovely. If I can find a way of preserving it so it doesn't get damaged when it's being worn, I think that's definitely something I'm going to do. This is my start on this. So if you do want to participate, it's for the whole of May. It's called #ManningMaySal. So I'll put the hashtag here. Check it out, have a look at all the ones people are stitching, they're fantastic. This is stitched with all the called for DMC. So I had to, I think the pattern said to stitch on dark fabric because most of the colours are dark. So it's not been much of a problem until I stitched this navy blue, because it's pretty much the same colour as this fabric, which hurts my eyes a little bit, but other than that, it's been lovely to stitch all the colours onto it. 12.9% of the way through this pattern. I've stitched for a total of 13 hours and 19 minutes. I've stitched 2,080 stitches so far, and I've got a total of 14,049 stitches to go. So I'm going to give this a good old go throughout May. Just going to see how far I can get by the end of the month and just see where I am with the pattern. I don't know what the process is with when we've finished May. Do we put it away for next year? But I'm just going to see how I feel with it because it's just such a nice stitch. I think I'll just continue until it's finished and then maybe start another one because there's so many patterns I love of hers. So yeah, that's my Carolyn Manning Eclipse. If you want to join, use that hashtag #ManningMaysal and don't blame me, blame all the floss tubers I've just mentioned earlier because they started me. So that's all I've got for cross stitch. I did mention earlier that I would show you some of the embroidery that I've been doing. So I started on January 1st, I started an embroidery journal. So this is where you split up a hoop into 12 different sections. You put a title of the month on each section and you just put them on, and then every single day of the year you think of a different symbol that you can stitch, so embroider onto your little wedge for each day. So I'll show you where I am with this. We've got January, February, March and April. May hasn't got any on here despite it being the 8th. I've got all my symbols written down on a note section of my phone, so I was stitching it every single day, but for some reason it took up more energy than me writing it on my phone and then spending a few hours just catching up for the month. It just seems to help me there. So I will zoom in a little bit. So 2023, and we've got lots of little symbols here. So we've got a little whale. I watched The Whale, the movie, which is really good. Some flowers here. I can't remember why I stitched that one. This one was when I was just going for a walk and I followed like Google Maps. A tooth because I had a fill-in. YouTube sign. I started YouTube in March, so I stitched that. 142. That is the number of the bus on Into the Wild, which is one of my favourite books, which I reread recently. There's a darts board here because I went camping and played darts with my partner, and I was really good actually. I've never really played it before, so that had to go on there. There's probably lots of different suns on there. I've got a little flamingo where I went to Folly Farm. But yeah, it's really cool because it is really fun stitching, but it's also really hard thinking about new things to do every day. There's so many different suns because of beautiful sunsets I've seen since the beginning of the year. And some days I just have to stitch a random pattern because I can't think of anything that I can put on there. But it does make you think, and it's almost like a little gratitude or noticing the lovely things in life test for me, really. This will be continued until the end of the year. I don't think I'll be doing it again next year. I might try a cross stitch version. That is my progress so far on my embroidery journal. So you can check out, there's a lot of other people that do it as well, so that's on hashtag embroidery journal 2023. So I got the idea from Pinterest. A few people shared some stuff on Instagram to me as well, and it was just something I wanted to do to test my embroidery skills. I've already been embroidering a little bit. I make key rings, which you can check out on my Etsy store, but I just wanted to test myself and learn some new skills and just see if I could stitch what's in my head, really. And it's been quite beneficial for me, and it's been quite fun and something different. So I can't wait until that's fully finished. Well, I can, because that means a whole year has completely passed, and doing it has made me notice how quick time goes, and it's quite scary that we're already 4 full months into the year. We're in the 5th one now. So yeah, I can wait for it to be done, but when it is done, it's going to be on my wall and a little memory of 2023. So I mentioned that as well as the embroidery journal, I do some embroidered key rings. So the first keyring is Estes Park. So it's 2 little mountains and a sun that I have embroidered and put into a wooden hoop. So these are available on my Etsy store. So this is the first one. Got another one of those, but they're in like autumnal colours that are on there. And the next one is sunset over Southern Down, which is a beach in South Wales. So that's the other keyrings that I have for sale. So I was playing around with those patterns that I created, and I decided to embroider card. So I mentioned this on my first video and I had a few comments asking to show this. Full disclosure, I did try and show it on my last video, but the light I was using was way too bright and I couldn't actually show you the embroidery because it was just white on the background. So I decided to cut it and give it another go this time. So fingers crossed you'll be able to see it. Yeah, so I just wanted to talk you through what I do, not in detail, but a brief description of what I do to embroider onto card, what I use, and yeah, just to show you the finished pieces really. So this is the tool I use. So I was talking to Somerset Stitches on Instagram because she saw some of my pieces that I'd embroidered onto card, because she said, what's that pokey tool called? Pokey thing tool called? So we had a bit of a laugh about that, and honestly that comes into my head more than owl does. So this is the pokey thing tool. So I use this on card. So the first thing I did was draw out a square, draw lines a couple of millimeters apart, and then draw the design. So this is my Southern Down sunset design, and then I've just used the pokey tool. If I go in, you can see holes. So I've put holes here, here, and I just followed the lines around with the holes, and I've put holes every 3 centimeters as well. And then I've put card on the back of that. I've used like a cutting mat on the bottom, put card on the back and used the tool. So I've manually hand poked holes into the card. And then once the holes are there, I can put thread through those holes just to create patterns. So this is the template that I used. It's not the only one I've done. I've actually gone a bit mad. I think I spent about 4 days just doing various different patterns. So the first one is an identical, is like a replica of the keyrings that I do. So this is the pattern. So I've used all the same DMC as I did in the keyring, and I've put it onto like a vintage white mount. So we've got the pink and then the orange sky for the sunset, and then we've got the waves in different various blue colours. So that is 12 by 12 centimetres, all of the designs are. So that's the first one. The second one is the same pattern with minus the orange in the sky. So you can see the white card in the background, and then it's like vintage white mounted on with all the different blues. So that is Southern Down Sunset again. So these are all available on my Etsy store to buy. So if you like them, go check it out. The link's below as always. So go have a look. The next one, I think this is my favourite one. So it's the Southern Down Sunset again. This is monochrome. So this is the one I really wanted to show you last time, but because it's white on white, it was just so hard to show with the lighting last time. So it's, you can see it when I lean it back slightly. So I think it's Ecru I used on the white card, and then I've mounted it on the vintage white. And in certain lights, it doesn't look like there's much on the page, and then it's just the way it catches the light is lovely. I just love the effect of this. It almost looks mirrored. And this is my favourite. I'll definitely be doing more patterns in this style. So there's that one. And then I did the Estes Park. So I did a replica of that on card. And then the last one I did, this isn't an exact replica of Snowdonia, but it's what I see in my mind's eye. So this one is in like a forest green colour. And then it's just like a mountain range that I've created out of the negative space. So those are my embroidery onto card. So that's something I've been dabbling with recently, and I really enjoy it. It's really great to just create my own patterns and then stitch it onto paper. So I'll definitely be doing more of those. So keep an eye on my Instagram if you like them, and also on my Etsy store as well. that's all the embroidery that I've been doing recently. So there's a little bit of haul I wanted to go through as well. There's not much this month because most of my money went on kitting up for all of my new starts. So I don't have much haul, but I will show you a few things that I have bought. So the first thing is, I mentioned last time that people had magnets that were holding the fabric together instead of a grime guard. So I decided to buy some magnets. So I got these from Etsy. So they do feel like they would be quite strong magnets, but when I put a lot of fabric in them, they don't seem to hold very well. So they don't hold very well through fabric, which I was a bit disappointed about. So I might have just bought from the wrong people. So if anyone knows of any really good magnet fabric holders, please let me know in the comments below or message me on Instagram. Just because I'll probably still use these. I could probably loop them around and use them as like needle minders, but they're not the strongest. So that's the first bit of haul. The next bit, I have been using bobbins for a long time for my material, and I've seen so many people use flush drops recently that I just thought it was something I really wanted to do, because it makes the fabric look, it makes the thread look so much nicer when you've kitted up for it, and you can just stroke it like a mane or something, a mane on a horse. That's not the only reason I got it. It is so much easier to stitch from flush drops, so I think I'll be moving on to that in the future, but I just wanted to show you the flush drops I bought. So this is by a company on Etsy. I can't remember the name offhand, but I will put a link to them below, or I'll mention their name below so you can find them on Etsy. So they're just plain wooden flush drops. So they've got the big circle there, and then they've got the small one. It comes with a hoop, and they came with 20 wooden things. So I've put all the colours on here ready for the Widow Frog, which I can't wait to stitch. But yeah, they are the flush drops that I've bought. There were so many pretty ones, but I just wanted something plain that I could write the numbers on. So they're the flush drops that I bought. And that's all that I've bought really. So the next thing I wanted to show you isn't something that I bought, it was something I was gifted. And this is gifted by a lovely lady local to me, who is a very talented quilter. And I think this is a book that she's had that she thought would be better in my hands, and I am so grateful for it. It's such a lovely gift. And it was this blue and white cross stitch. So it's so lovely. It's by Helen Turvey. I absolutely love this because my mum was obsessed with the Blue Willow pattern plates. So I've got a couple in my cupboard, but the fact that I'm able to stitch these patterns now and put them into frames, I'm just so happy. I just thought they're such lovely patterns. So I'll just show you a couple from here, and you probably will see me stitching them in the future. So this is the first one. This is the willow pattern. And I think like it shows you instructions on how to make it into a bag, but I probably just use it and put it in a frame. I don't think that's the sort of bag I'd like to make, but that pattern is absolutely lovely. So this is like a blue and white windmill, and then this one here is like blue willow sampler. So both of them I think I'll stitch. I love both of them. I just love the colours, and it just reminds me of the plates that I used to have from my mum, and I was just so happy when I was gifted that book, because it's something I'll definitely stitch most of the patterns that are in there. So thank you so much for that. Really appreciative of it. So I just wanted to go through some of my plans that I've got for the next 2 weeks before I speak to you again. So the first one is to keep stitching on my Man in Cell. We won't be at the end of May by the time I film next, so just keep stitching that and see the progress I get and where I get to. Start the Widow Frog is the next one, so this is what the pattern will look like. So that one should be a new start next time I speak to you. I need to find a frame for this pattern that I would have showed you on my first video. This is the pattern that got me back into stitching a couple of years ago. So it's not the best stitched. I think some of my stitches are a bit all over the place, but it means a bit to me. So I'm going to find a nice vintage frame or secondhand frame to frame that with. So that is going to be one of my missions. Hopefully I can show you that FFO'd. I want to complete the Wanderer Style for May. So like I said, I want to finish the rest of the border of the antique frame and stitch the bottle that's going to be released for May. So hopefully that'll be stitched up by the next time I speak to you as well. So I wanted to make a start on the cross stitch pattern that I bought for Johnny's nephew. So that is something I would like to stitch. This is what it will be completed. So that is something I want to kit up for at least. Maybe not start, but start kitting up for it. So they are my stitchy plans going forward. And the next thing I just wanted to talk about is a couple of the films that I've been watching, or some of the series I've been watching while I've been stitching. So if this isn't for you, say goodbye now and I'll see you next time. But if you're interested in what I've been watching, please stick around. The first series I've been watching is a series called Candy, portrayed by Jessica Biel. It's based on a true story. It's about a woman in Texas, I think it's Wiley, Texas, back in the 70s, I believe. How do I explain this without spoiler alerts? I didn't know much about this. If you know the story, you know what she does, but she does something to one of the mums in the community, and it's all about that, and it just follows that story. And if you don't know about the story, there's a lot of twists and turns, and it's a thinker. Very well acted. I definitely give it a go if it's not something you've watched before and you're into those sort of dramas. But yeah, it is based on a true story. I think some of the things in there that happen are just for, you know, entertainment value. But yeah, it's worth a watch. So that's one that I've been watching. Another one that I have come back to, me and Johnny decided to rewatch Midnight Mass. So this is from Netflix. It's by the guy who directed The Haunting in Hill House. So it's based on an island called Crockett Island, about 30 miles from the mainland. I don't know whereabouts it's based. I don't even know if it's a real island. I think it's a fictional island. And it's about a community. It starts off with a guy in the first episode. He kills a girl by drink driving, and it follows his story going back home to the island. And it's quite a heavily religious island, and they attend mass every Sunday because it's quite small. There's not much for them to do, so they do go to mass every Sunday. And a new priest comes in, and everyone's enthralled by him, and he just brings everyone into the church, and then some weird things start happening. It covers a lot of deep conversations around religion. I'm not religious myself, but it's interesting to see. It talks about talks about Christianity, talks about loads of other religions. It talks about all the different Bibles. There's lots of like deep monologues about death in there as well. It sounds really weird, but it's just such a good show, such good acting. Definitely worth a watch. The only other things I've been watching, because I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks lately, are two films. One film. So this is The Banshees of Inisherin. It's based in Ireland. I think it's a small island off of Ireland. It's about two friends. So one day, one of the friends says to the other that he doesn't want to be friends with him anymore because he's too dull and doesn't bring anything to his life. And it's all about him trying to gain his friendship back and trying to understand why he doesn't want to be his friend anymore. And it's dark, it's funny. It gets a bit weird in parts, but it was really funny. And yeah, I really enjoyed that film. So it's definitely worth a watch. I'm probably not doing any of these series or films justice by talking about them, but they're things that I've been enjoying watching recently. Some things I'm excited for. I'm actually excited for, I just saw a trailer for Selling Sunset season 6, I believe, is coming out. Now it's trashy, but I love Selling Sunset. I just love putting it on and just watching it and seeing how other people live. And it does get a bit nasty, and I don't really like that. But I do like looking at the really expensive houses and all the nice clothes they wear. And probably some of the drama is quite fun. So I'm looking forward to that one. And Black Mirror. The new series of Black Mirror is due to come out this year at some point. I'm not sure of the date, so I'll definitely be watching that going forward. So that's everything I wanted to go through, really. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you again in 2 weeks' time. If you've got any questions about any of the stitching that I've talked about, or just want to get in touch, DM me, comment below, or you can email me. I'll pop my email down below as well. But thank you so much for watching. If you liked this, please subscribe to my channel, and I will see you soon. Bye.